Think about the Red Wedding in Game of Thrones, if you know that story. The archetypal psychopath energy is alive and well in this lunation sky. So if you think about world leaders and world famous people who could be king-like, like King of the Lapis, where would you qualify psychopathology? The Sabian symbol for 9 Capricorn, the actual moon is at 8 Capricorn, is a angel carrying a harp and date. So we're not expecting a small story off of this lunation. The sky reflects or mirrors, not causes, what will happen. There is a world leader on a live vibration. I'm going to give you some ideas about who it might be. We have a lunation in the sign of Capricorn, and this is coming up on the 29th of the month of June. And it is important because this is a lunation that is primarily activating this Aries energy in our sky. And I know what you guys go, not more Aries energy. Yes, we are cardinal. We are moving into the square from a full moon in Capricorn, Sun across the way in Cancer, Saturn, Neptune, and Aries. The energy there is going to bring up themes that have been ongoing in the sign of war, in the sign of independence and pioneering and daring and some boldness, which is kind of good. But at the same time, this moon has hookups to asteroids in the world astrology that suggests a memoriam, a requiem, a funeral of a powerful leader in the world. So we're going to see that spinning off this lunation at the end of June. You might see it a few days before, a few days after. I'll show you how that looks in today's sky. And also we'll be covering how your sign can respond best to a very strong cardinal energy in our sky that invites you to take action, to take initiative, to be bold, and to move forward in the area that you know you're ready to do. It's like Captain Kirk, to boldly go where no man has gone before, to boldly go where you are ready to go. You may not have been there before. You are ready to dare. Isn't that a Brene book, Brene, whatever, dare to do or dare greatly, dare greatly. You're going to dare greatly off of this Capricorn lunation. So we're going to dive into what this looks like from world astrology events as well as your sign in our video ahead. One thing I want to encourage you to do is remember this is general bell curve astrology. Do remember that I'm not giving you a personal reading, but rather an overview of what's possible just for a whole sign. And in today's video, also, you might remember that we're using the whole sign house system, as are all astrologers on YouTube. Don't look at your Plastis chart and get confused. Just trust me when I tell you it's in your 4th house. It's in your 4th house. If you're an Aries rising, for example, Capricorn is your whole sign 10th house. So don't get mixed up. And if you're new here, welcome. My name is Lothian. This is Lunatic Astrology. We are Western Tropical Zodiac, and I'm so happy you're here. I just had a great excitement to reach 150,000 subscribers last month. And if you're wanted to also celebrate with me, I've got a party going on, party time. And in my celebration, I put a code CELEBRATE, all capital letters. And on my website, LoriLothian.com, you can get your 40% off courses like finding your past lives in the chart, finding your spouse and family members in your chart, finding your best career or your natural talents in the chart, and more. I have a bevy of about 20 courses for resale. Each of these is about 2 hours long, maximum 90 minutes usually. So go ahead and check out these courses for 40% off. It's very affordable, and this price ends at the end of June. Hopefully you're going to hear this before the end of June. Now, sometimes people think world astrology is, boring, or you don't want to listen to it, or I don't know what. Let me just say a few things about world astrology. It is interesting to me because the sky reflects or mirrors, not causes, what will happen. It's not a causal agent, the sky. It's a mirror of the code of events that are meant to happen. Let's just call it that way, likely to happen, have a high probability of happening. And there's a high probability in this sky, as there was when the Pope passed away, as there was when Biden stepped down from running because of health challenges, as there was when apparently Donald Trump faced a near unaliving attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania. And there's a possibility that all of these are probabilities, but I did see them in the sky. I did announce them just before they happened based on things I'm about to share with you today. Of course, I can't get everything right. I did actually get a down helicopter for a general from Iran going down with Icarus in the sun just before that happened. So there are things that astrology can give us premonitory insight and predictability in. And I am pretty considering that the sky with Asteroid Requiem, which is a funeral service for a well-known person, Memoria, like memorial, are highly activated right now in our sky. And Ixion. Ixion is a story of breaking the rules, raging against the way things should go, but also in a dark, dark way. Okay. So I'll bring more attention to Ixion as well. So we have a kind of rage attack energy as well here. We don't know if the person who might become unalived is raging or is raged against, but there is a world leader unalived vibration. I'm going to give you some ideas about who it might be in the world overview. So I'm recording this for you on June the 15th. There's a tenuous piece of it open of Strait of Hormuz in Iran. I'll talk about that today in this chart. The sky suggests even if the United States doesn't get locked and loaded into that, again, ram horns against Iran, sun in Aries, that the other country with the blue and white flag, the little hornet's wasp nest in the Middle East that attacks all its neighbors, but, aggressively, then they still might get involved and do it their way, right? Do it their way because they are not going to give up the ghost on toppling Iran or making it a disheveled civil chaos, hot mess, because it's the only thing that stops them from being the hegemon of the Middle East, whereas Iran is their main competition at this point. So we're going to talk about all of that briefly. I hope 20 minutes. I want to show you the asteroids we're talking about. You can look for these asteroids in your chart, and famous people who pass, like Queen Elizabeth. She has Requiem right up there with, I think, her midheaven or sun. I can't remember now. Means, well-known person for whom there is a state funeral or a large funeral of some kind. So we're not expecting a small story off of this lunation. And we could see it unfold over time, right? It may unfold 2 or 3 days before the moon, may unfold up to 2 weeks after the moon. So let me bring the sky to your attention and we'll go through the world and then we'll do you. So what I like about this, before I show you the chart, the Sabian symbol for 9 Capricorn, the actual moon is at 8 Capricorn, is a angel carrying a harp, and Dane Rujar does like it for the revelation of the spiritual meaning and purpose at the core of any life situation. So what is the spiritual meaning and purpose at the core of world events and in our own lives as we move into this moon squaring Saturn, squaring Neptune and Aries? I want to bring our attention to the archetype of the psychopath. Why do I want to do that? Because Ixion, I call him a centaur, the king of the lapis, was a psychopath. Okay, so how would you guys define a psychopath? Because the archetypal psychopath energy is alive and well in this lunation sky. So if you think about world leaders and world famous people who could be king-like, like King of the Lapis, where would you qualify psychopathology? So why I'm bringing this up is because Ixion was an interestingly psychopathic storyline. There's a thing you never do. You never harm your kinfolk. And so what happened was he was marrying somebody, and he promised the father of the bride, as the king of the lapis, that his new wife, the wife's father, a major dowry for his wife, a major amount of money. That used to do that, right? For, I'll take your beautiful daughter and here's the dowry, like 100 cattle and 600 sheep and lots of gold. And then after the wedding, he refused to pay. Okay, didn't want to pay the king. He false promises, lies, and deception. Well, it got even worse. Basically, he ends up killing his bride's father. I mean, it's like, and he tricked him into it. So when we think about trickery, deception, psychopathology, it's the vibe of psychopath. This is like the archetypal story of the psychopathic individual. So basically, he was feigning desire. Think about the Red Wedding in Game of Thrones, if you know that story. Think about the nation of blue and white flag, hornet's nest, calling the whole thing against Iran in June of 25, something like the Red Wedding, but like they had a Game of Thrones name like it. So here's what happened. So Ixion promised the bride, big lavish dowry. He refused to pay. I'm just reading to remind myself. In retaliation, the father of the bride stole some of Ixion's pride horses to balance the scales. You're not going to give me the dowry. I'll take what I think I should get. And then feigning a desire to make peace, like, okay, don't worry, bygones are bygones. He invites his bride's father to a feast, and on his arrival, he pushes him into a pit of burning coals. Okay, really treacherous. Okay. Now, that's a heinous crime, and he got in trouble. So in Greek mythology, he's now an outcast, and nobody would work with him. He was totally outcast from all of society because he's an untrustworthy, treacherous sociopath. But Zeus felt sorry for him, brought him to Mount Olympus, forgave his sins, said, "You're hereby forgiven and you can start all over again." So now he's got a second chance to be a good guy. Instead of being grateful, what did he do? What did Ixion decide to do with that gratitude? He started making the moves on Hera. That is the wife of the king of Mount Olympus. That is Zeus's wife. Now he's lusting after her. Zeus found out, created a false Hera out of a cloud. Ixion had sex with the cloud, thinking it was Hera, started boasting to everybody about having sex with the wife of Zeus, the queen of heaven. And so he was cast out by Zeus from Mount Olympus and subject to grueling eternal punishment on a fiery wheel. So we keep seeing him being really unredeemable. And psychopathology in modern life, like in our world, in the literature of psychology, is pretty well unredeemable. You cannot heal somebody of psychopathology. Something just fell off my desk and I have no idea what it was, but we'll go with that. And the archetype is alive and well in our world leaders today. Okay. But this is very interestingly reminding me of the world leader in charge of the little blue and white flag nation in the Middle East who's at war with like 7 of its neighbors. That one is going to show some Ixion stories. Shall we look at that? Because I'm wondering if that person will be unalived or decapitated from power or something like that coming off this moon. Already, because Trump is making a deal with Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz, there is a lot of fighting back from the blue and white nations media and its ruler. And there's a lot of also, like the media right now, I'm recording on June the 15th, within the blue and white flag nation is decrying Bibi, let's say Bibi, as, incompetent because he couldn't pull this off and, get everything under control. And like he's being tossed under the bus by other politicians and the public at all. Just so you think it's one radical Likud right-wing government. No, the whole of the population that's left in that nation concurs with all of the policies that have been done to people, including the G side in, the place that has a letter G for its name, where the Palestinians used to live. Now they just hunker down in tents. So here is the sky, and then I'm going to show you the psychopathic ruler of a country's chart. But I don't know. Somebody else could be requiemed out, memoriated out. Let's see who it is. This is Ixion, that treacherous psychopath, on an 8-degree Capricorn lunation. And on this memoria, like memories of, remembrance of, memorial right here. So some person is having a memorial, end of story. The moon is full and bright in Capricorn. Capricorn represents the home and homeland of the nation of I that ends with an L in the Middle East. Okay, that's their territory that they possess, legally or illegally. Just keep that in mind. And of course, the sun is on Hygeia, near Hygeia, just co-present with Hygeia for health issues. Jupiter represents exalted leader. Mercury represents news. Okay, so there's themes up here that the moon is reflecting exalted leader, news, health. Now, Donald Trump may also be under health challenges as well. Not that this guy speaks most strongly to him. I'm not saying it does. I don't have Trump derangement syndrome at all. But it is in the house of hospitals for Donald Trump. Okay, so keep that in mind. So we got Donald Trump and we got Bibi. We'll go with that. And we also have in our sky this one, 7 degrees of Libra, Requiem. Well, what is Libra in the world? For Donald Trump, he has his Jupiter and Libra in his 3rd house. Really, it's not, to me, like a requiem, unless it's him being a king of the local crowds, and a requiem. It also is where Bibi has his sun and moon in the sign of Libra. Libra is also where the nation, the wasp nest nation with the blue and white flag in the Middle East, has its ascendant. So we can say that there can be a major requiem memorial for somebody who lives in that country, and maybe with Jupiter who leads that country. And just to show you what I mean, recently used, let's grab the Dark Lord himself. The Dark Lord himself, some people call him Netanyahu these days, just to get a good code name for him. The Dark Lord himself, Voldemort's best friend, is got a huge amount of Ixion in his chart, right? So think about the psychopathic story I just told you and take it at face frigging value. Now, where he's got Ixion is where his sun is and his moon. And this is, by the way, a balsamic moon. Most balsamic moons are old souls. They're spirit wanderers. They're questing into the supernatural and the occult mysteries. But you can do that from the dark place and the light place. You can do black and white magic. So here's his balsamic moon. There's health issues. There's his sun. There's his south node of past lives and what he knows from before. And he's born with this energy of Ixion with Neptune, kind of fantastic delusions or illusions, a mental illness even, and Mercury, the mind. So he is this character in the simulation. Athena can rule strategy, legal matters, and war. A victory in war stories. Okay, so this is part of his narrative. And all of the stellium that he is sits on the ascendant of the blue and white nation with the red white flag. I'm just going to say hornet's nest, guys. Don't want to be demonetized, shadow banned, or whatever. So he's meant to be in that role. This is where we can go back to the angel carrying a harp, the revelation of spiritual meaning and the purpose at the core of any life situation. Somehow he was meant to play this character, this villainous character, treacherous, villainous, lying and murderous character that Ixion is, because what your sun and moon represent, well, the sun represents your eternal nature, yes, but the moon is also your material realm circumstances and your fated circumstances as well. Now, because his ascendant is here at 9 degrees of Sagittarius, that's where he has his ascendant, you'll notice that the moon in Capricorn is going to happen in this relationship, second house from his actual character in the simulation, but the sun will be shining in the house of death. So this will bring that story of death and something into alignment. It may not be physical, it may be death of power with his midheaven up here. I didn't draw it in, around 22 degrees of Virgo. He's been under a series of south node eclipses for the last year that mean the depletion of power and seat of power in his purpose career. These depletion eclipses began in spring of 25, fall of 25, and spring of 26, losing power. Now, you might say, oh no, his people support him and he's been charging ahead. Globally, he's like the most despised politician in the world, as is that country in various global polls. So there you go. When he was also born, he has this asteroid Memoria for memorial services, where Saturn is moving toward his north node right now in our real-time sky and moving toward his Memoria. So there's also potentially Memoria energy here. If we take the real-time sky, that what we're talking about, and we're talking about the moon. And by the way, the moon adds up to a 13, a death number, right? So just in terms of the perfect degrees of the 8-degree moon, it's 8 degrees and 14 minutes. So it will be a death number, 13th death and rebirth in the tarot. Okay, so the moon's actually at 8 degrees when it's exact. I'll say that just for holding on to the space and without getting it perfect. Okay, without getting it perfect. Let's just stick. The dark Lord is on the outside. The sky on the moon is on the inside. And you can see that it has a few interesting combinations. So Jupiter has just moved into Leo on June 29th, and Asteroid for a major funeral service in the chart that belongs to the villainous Netanyahu is on Jupiter, who means king. So it is very probable and possible that if it's not him, there is a requiem for a king, but BB might know him. And anyway, the other thing I'd say is there is in the chart of the transiting sky, sorry, that's requiem in Netanyahu's chart. On Jupiter, a big ceremony for a king and a funeral, but tied to the personal requiem placement of the leader in question that we have been talking about in the 11th house of large groups and events that happen in the public. Okay, that's his 11th house. So we can see the potential there for him being the person on the funeral pyre. And over here in the real-time sky, Requiem is on his Mercury. And so there's news and information and shout outs and announcements about the part of the chart that represents his sun and moon and his own Ixion nature and potentially, broad news stories, Libra library book and media, maybe as well involved, as well as justice and courts. And anything else I want to say about it? No, that's good enough. I think you get the point, right? I think it's to understand the main point of what I'm saying, even to the point where Jupiter, which represents power to lead like a king, in the fourth house over the territory that the country owns in the chart of Netanyahu, is on the moon, which is going to be not exact, but it's in the same co-present with this moon, which is importantly connected to Memoria, and of course some kind of psychopathic character named Ixion. I think I got the point across. I'm just making a case that a world leader of great renown, but maybe considered to be the treacherous Ixion character that lies and is murderous, or to be involved in unaliving by such a character. That's what we'll go with. All right, so there we have it. Now, in today's rest of our video, we're going to cover your sign, and what we're going to talk about in a very fast and rapid fire way is where we're going to talk about how you might use this moon. Remember the angel and the harp calling one to purpose, and the thing I read at the beginning does give us a bright spot here. And Saturn squaring the moon, owning the moon from Aries, tells us another story. Now we're going to go through your sun, moon, and rising sign. Let me explain the difference between your sun, your moon, and your rising. I hear sometimes astrologers teaching or mentioning that your rising sign is your spiritual essence and your true self. And I'm disappointed or concerned by that perspective because it's not the true perspective. Now, you can say, how do I know that? Well, I'm using the ancient traditions. And I also know that from my own life experience. You know, if anybody here in my comments has lived through Uranus going over your ascendant, or Neptune going over your ascendant, or Pluto going over your ascendant, especially by degree, you know it impacts the character in the simulation. Your health, your body is there, the physical form that your spirit inhabits. Your disposition to the world, happy, sad, mad, the I am, you can define, I'm a writer, I'm a communicator, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, you know, how you identify the character. I am smart, I am prickly, I am funny, the whole character, you know, nurture nature, call it what you will. You have a particular way of being that starts to show up as a child, particularly formative years. And by age of 7, it's pretty locked and loaded. We are not anything truly connected to the ascendant other than it is the vessel for the light of spirit. And then we play through that vessel like a spacesuit, right? In reality, that is the way we are using the vessel for life. So your ascendant is circumstantially accurate because it's very prone to the vagaries of fate. It's connected to the moon. It's connected to lunar light. It's connected to the nodes of fate. You're essentially driven by fate when your character is just the only thing you're living from. Okay. If you're living from your deeper spiritual self, that's your solar energy. I'm a fire sign in Aries. That's my essence. That's who I am. I'm the fire flavor of God, air, earth, water, fire. And we have modalities. I'm cardinal. You could be cardinal, fixed, or mutable. There's flavors of the divine spark. You are one. Think of a rainbow, one light prisming into various colors. That one light that you are, that one shade of hue of the divine, that is your sun sign by modality, by element, by house, by degree. And then we have the sun playing in matter. So you can think of the sun as the actor or the actress who plays the character in the movie, or as the game player who chooses a character for the simulation in the video game. It's the same idea. And the moon is your mind. You're thinking, when I say mind, it's how I think and feel. So if you say thinking and feeling, you got nothing. Stop. Don't rely on your feelings. They're not going to be true. Don't rely on your thinkings. They're not going to be true. Your thoughts will never lead you to truth. It is your knowingness. And your knowing place is deep, intuitive, and still, and it's connected to the knowing heart. So there is a part of you, okay, that is always thinking and feeling and feeling and thinking. That's the moon. The moon reflects the true light of the sun, the spiritual light, but it doesn't have any intrinsic light of its own. It's a reflector. Your mind and your thoughts reflect the true light of your spiritual essence. They are not authentically real. They're just reflecting something that is real. But we live a life with thoughts and feelings. So when you meditate and when you get enlightened, when you're spiritually still, you're turning the moon down. You're dimming your moonlight so you can be in the stillness. Practical note, moon is your mother, sun is your father. Moon is home and nest and safety, and sun can be career and purpose. Okay, ascendant is just a circumstantial character in the sim. And remember to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the all signs version, all 12 signs, and how to use this amazing Capricorn full moon on June the 29th for your sign. And if you're wanting to learn a bit more about some of the stuff I teach, I wanted to remind you, because I forgot to mention, I do teach a webinar coming up on the 28th of June on the exceptionally interesting, very rare version of Jupiter moving through Leo for 12 months, starting at the end of June on the 30th. And this movement through Leo, well, it happens every 12 years, very rarely occurs co-present with the South Node of Fate, which moves into Leo at the end of July. So ultimately, we have something very special going on. And if you want to learn how to use this destined, fated energy with the Leonine signature, with the Jupiterian luck and growth, come join me. I'll love to have you there. Information on how to subscribe to that course is in the description box under this video. So Aries, Sun, Moon, and Rising, you're starting off this like lunation, the new moon, the new beginning on the June the 29th storyline with a fresh start and a new beginning up in the Capricorn sky at 8 degrees. Remember the Sabian symbol as an angel carrying a harp, and it has a lot to do with spiritual meaning and purpose at the core of all of our life situations. And so you're asking yourself, what is the core of my purpose and the meaning of my life spiritually when it applies to how I want to use this world to express career, to express my reputation, to express how I show up in the visible sky, how other people see me doing something that I would call success or accomplishment. Like you would say, this is what I think is important. If you're retired, it might be something beyond a job that you consider important. You could be writing a book, you could be tending a garden, you could be feeding the homeless. I don't know, you have a thing. You don't just sit around usually unless you're ill. So hopefully you're not. So what are you conceiving as important in terms of you wish to achieve and others can recognize that achievement? That's your 10th house. You look at angels saying, what is the spiritual meaning and purpose at the core of your life situation in your career? That's that simple. It's not hard. And it's interesting because to me, all Aries, whether your sun, which is your career, moon, your emotions and home and nest, and your rising, your character in the simulation, will in some way ask this question to determine what it is you are actually trying to create that has a sense of spiritual value and meaning in the career and reputation section. It sounds like a luxury problem, doesn't it? Like a first world problem. And I get that. But ultimately, we can be in the most menial of jobs, in quotes, right? And we can still bring our soul to work. So maybe I should say, are you bringing your soul to work? And this is what this moon is asking you to look at more clearly from the new moon 6 months earlier in Capricorn. And this moon, which is full, is showing us something. It's a spotlight there to look closely, to see what you're not seeing. In the question I've just advertised to you, the moon is in a condition of stoicism. She's sturdy and steady and serious and stern because this is Capricorn, where the moon isn't emotional and gushy. She's hardworking. She gets the job done in your career. Ruled by Saturn, Mr. Tough as Nails, taskmaster in your sign. So there's a lot of like steely grit and determination in the sky for you that bakes in how you can operate like almost like indomitable determination to succeed through perseverance and emotional neutrality, but at the downside, at the costs maybe of challenges to your health. So be careful, or to your emotional well-being. So you have to find that balance here. And the deeper layer with the angel to me is to look to the heaven within ourselves and maybe look to where life is meant to be lived in a state of harmony. So harmony and peace, as well as grit and determination, may be what this moon is trying to give you a clue about as you progress through the 2 to 3 weeks after the June 29th lunation. So I have an Aries sun and moon, okay? And for me, it'll be like, I know I'm going to start in July recording the videos I do every year. Thank you for all of you who have been loyal followers and buyers of each year I do like a 2-hour video for your sign, up to 2 hours, with it point by point, what do you need to look for as the year progresses. And last year, my videos were all 2 hours long. So you guys know how much work I put into the research, the time it takes to record. And that'll be something I'll be doing all through July and top of my regular production schedule. So you can only imagine where, for me as an Aries sun career, there's going to be a need to find the balance between the determination and the grit and the stoicism and the enjoyment and harmony and balance of life. So that's something that's going to happen for all of us in some way. Even if you're not working in the work world, there's some need to determine where the balance is. Saturn gives you grit and sage-like wisdom, but also can create overburdened, super serious, and highly responsible energy where you're carrying too much on your own shoulders. Lastly, I would mention that, the moon is in a condition of her exile, Saturn, is a condition of fall. So, well, there's nothing inherently good or bad about a lunation in the 10th house. It could be pointing you to the area of life where you might consider you are causing yourself to fall, right? No one's pushing you down, okay? It is literally you doing yourself in. Nobody else is causing this. That's what I'm trying to get at. You're your own worst heavy burden taskmaster. So take what you need to do when you enter into June 29th. Add 2 weeks, maybe even a month until the next full moon to see if any of what I said to you today makes even an iota of sense. After all, the moon wants you to nurture yourself in the home, take care of yourself in the home, to bring yourself emotional satisfaction and comfort and ease in the home. And she's in the top of the sky. She's at noon. She's at the midnight. She loves the midnight hour in your chart, and she's stuck at the high noon. So this is where, again, I'm warning you, you need to take care of yourself, nurture yourself, parent yourself, and you can succeed if you remember there is a balance in life to everything. Taurus, sun, moon, and rising. This is a moon that tells me you have a new beginning. I mean, a full moon, a full light shining in your 9th house of God, which is very much in alignment with the angel carrying the harp Sabian symbol. This will be at 8 degrees of Cap on the day the lunation, at the time the lunation becomes exact. Maybe this is on the 30th. I don't even remember now because, of course, I stopped recording. But anyway, is it the 29th, 30th? You know what I mean. The whole vibe is there. I'm pretty sure it's the 29th. Sorry, this is when you record 2 days apart. This is the 30th. Okay. Yeah, the 29th, 30th. But we're going to go back a day so I can hold the moon. It's probably calendar time, 29th, late at night, some places, and on the 30th in other places. So 29th, 30th, new moon, time zone dependent is what I'll go with, just to save my reputation here. Well, yeah, on June 30th, it's at 2:25 a.m. Pacific. It's even before that. It's on the 29th. Okay, so I'm not off track. So 29th, 30th, big full moon. I want you to look at this, Taurus, about where you could lean into your purpose a bit more. The angel carrying the harp is about revealing one's spiritual meaning and purpose in the core of any life situation, according to Dane Rujar. And this is the house of purpose and meaning. So it's really doubling down on looking closely at what your long-range goals and plans and dreams might be. The moon sextiles the North Node in alignment, in a wholesomeness about, I might be making money, but maybe I'm completely in a misalignment with my sense of meaning and purpose. And some of those questions will be highly activated over the 2 weeks that follow the moon, if not a month. You're noticing you're dealing with Chiron in your sign. This is going to put you in a place of wanting to be healing some part of your life. Go watch any of my 2 videos out already on Chiron and Taurus for your sign. So you're already dealing with some kind of existential wound and you're working through that. At the same time, purpose and meaning are highlighted. The moon is in your 9th house of God. It can indicate opportunities to look more closely, like a beam of light shining into your higher education, long distance travel, court and legal matters, relationship with a sibling too older, or matters connected even to your spiritual beliefs and your spiritual practices. And with that energy all lit up, you got Saturn in the house of also distant lands and foreign places. And this is also connected to the desire, Saturn, for spiritual liberation and the containment and restriction of addictions, particularly your own self-undoing in any manner, whether it's substance abuse or just really saboteur of your own story. This is where Saturn's taking you to task. He'll be here till 2028 April. He represents the energy of where you must be realistic about things and where you must be discerning. And if you have struggled with any kind of addiction, self-undoing, saboteur energy within your realm, or you are friends with people who are not you keep attracting people to your life who are like your hidden enemies. They're not really out to help you. That could be happening with that. You're going to start sussing it out, right? You're going to start thinking about who really has my back in this life, and maybe eliminating some people that you realize were never really your friends. Secondly, though, this is a really strong moon because the moon loves pleasure, comfort, and ease, but she's determined, gritty, and stoic in Capricorn, in alignment with truth and wisdom, and maybe guides, mentors, teachers, or therapists to grind and grit your way through the possibility of containing an addictive substance abuse, misuse disorder, containing a bad habit, sabotage, undoing of your life. Those things are playing out. And because Saturn rules your 10th house of career, some of you may be going through a transition to something new, especially if you want to work with companies or in foreign countries or have foreign clients. And this moon can also be a kind of light that shows you where the new direction should go, what the new purpose could be. And it's full light, so it's fulfilling something that you started to think about 6 months ago. You might 6 months ago started thinking, yeah, I think I want to change my career. I want to change this job. You already have it in mind. The moon is showing you the way. Jupiter is being reflected by the moon, and he's exalted with the sun and Cancer, obviously, and Hygeia. So there's a beautiful healing energy being reflected by the moon. And it can be very healing as well in terms of what you're up to prosper, expand, and grow in context of sibling relationships, or even in context of your local environment. You want more enjoyment, pleasure, and expansion in your local environment. Maybe you want a little bit less grit and grind when it comes to how hard you're working, especially if you take your work home, especially if you, at the end of the workday, still feel like it's hanging over you on weekends and after work. That kind of Saturn wants you to spend solitude time that's going to be good for you, especially with Venus in the fourth, creative downtime, solitude. But Saturn rules your 10th house and is in a square to that moon, which is in a like a kind of human resources house. So almost get a chest pain talking to you guys about it. It feels hard. A legal court matter that needs to be determined one way or the other to favor you or not favor you in the public eye with courts and judges, maybe a second part of this moon. I can't say if you're favored or not. The moon is in a condition of exile, and Saturn can often be a judge, and he's in fall. So if you have a disappointing court outcome, then you're going to have to let go, let God, because that angel carrying a harp is trying to show you something deeper, something more important than winning in a court matter of any kind. Gemini, sun, moon, and rising sign. So the sky tells you that you have an amazing story. I'm one of you, ascendant in Gemini. Your progressed planets are never as important, of course, as your natal positions. They're extra layer of icing on the cake of your reality, but they count. And so I look at my Gemini progressed sun after I look at my core planetary natal story. So for the solar energy for, Geminis, your career, ascendant, your simulation body avatar, and your moon emotions. Here's what we've got. The moon is full in the 8th house of secrets, of hidden things, of the occult mysteries, the 8th house of chunks of money that are not paycheck related as much as they are passive income, royalty income, inheritances, money from your spouse that you share, money that you could get from any kind of payout, right? Commission check, tax rebate, you get the vibe. So there's this kind of full light here in the 8th house. And a lot of you have to go back roughly 6 months earlier when we had a Cap new moon to kind of say, well, 6 months ago, I started thinking about the themes of this house more deeply. And now they're showing me, there's a light switch here, showing me what is in the darkness and the hiddenness of the 8th house. 8th house moon squares its ruler, Saturn, in fall in Aries. And that's a difficult moon for everyone. And it can be that you need to be really hardcore realistic. Like, is it kind of that expression, come to Jesus? Like you have to face the music. There's something that you really need to come to terms with. And it has to do with the gains of your career. Well, the gains of your career can be monetary, second from the 10th, your 11th house. Those gains can also be just the rewards that you perceive as important, the corner office space, the recognition, the applause, the awards, the influence you might acquire. And because Saturn is like really not an illusionist, right? He's like, let's look at what's real and realistic. Let's be sober-minded here. Neptune might try to make it all fancy and glamorous, but Saturn will have none of that. And therefore you have this kind of sobering lunation, okay? Like getting after having a drunken binge of an orgiastic career in which you got a lot of success, and maybe you had some really cool shit going on in the 8th house where money was coming to you in chunks, and it wasn't so difficult. You might be reassessing this. Moon is stoic, but Moon is in a condition of exile. And it could be like, you might want to move away from forms of money and increases in money that have been successful but not satisfying, right? Our reliance on those kinds of monies. I'll give me as an example, YouTube, Google ad revenue, which is fine, as part of making money on YouTube, but it keeps me a slave to my content creation, right? It's exhausting sometimes. And so that means I need to make money in new ways, like Substack, which I love writing at, and other forms of creation that bring different kinds of revenue. So there can be that too. A full moon can be about a completion, not just a spotlight on something. Saturn, grinding away up there in the work and career space. You'll notice that Jupiter is at least in your second house. It kind of bakes in. The moon is able to see the gaze of Jupiter upon it. She is happy to see Jupiter's loving presence looking at her from the other side. The moon could be inviting you to consider there's a new form of income and earnings directly that you may begin to notice is available to you within the month that follows this particular moon and up to 6 months later. If it's not about income and it's about other stories, anytime we have a lunation in the 8th house, it may be about someone else, money that you share with a spouse, money from your spousal separation agreements, money from inheritances. South node still in your 4th house can be a loss in the family system of money, but it can also be destined money from your family system. And that moon is a ruler of your 9th house, which would be court cases and judgments or distant shores and lands connected to changes in money. So keep that in mind. In-law money as well, and a fulfillment of some promise with some bounty from the in-laws could be something some Geminis are experiencing, including, the passing of a parent, maybe a female even, from your spousal family, from their family. Cancer, sun, moon, and rising sign. The thing you notice here right away is that the moon is across from you. Obviously, you are looking at it in the house of the spouse, the business partner, the audience, the marketplace, the clients you serve, the customers, the fans, because the 7th house is 10 houses from the 10th. It becomes the public marketplace of your career ambition. Ultimately, it looks to me like this moon, stoic and stern, gritty and tough as nails, is maybe something about your significant other in business or love. It may be their experience coming up on the fullness of this lunation, or you may be able to see them in the light of, man, they're one hell of a, they can handle it, stoic, determined, no emotional breakdowns over there with my partner, or in love or business. But also the problem may be the square to Saturn. Saturn is the ruler of the moon. Saturn is in the 10th house. Saturn is in the reputation house. Saturn is in your work house. Saturn rules your chunks of money you share with a spouse or business partner. There might be some disagreements here about money with a partner, or about how much time you're putting into the work you do in this world. And it may be conflicting with the needs of your partner, time alone, connection together. There may be some cross currents here. The moon is your ruler. When the moon is in the 7th house, and Jupiter aligns with Mars, you may find that you are codependent for a while. Sometimes when your ruler, anybody listening, your ruler is in the 7th house by transit, or when the ruler is in the 7th house at birth, codependency is a big story. And so for a temporary period of time, maybe a couple of weeks after the lunation, up to a month later, when it's sort of unfolding itself a little more clearly for you, the needs of someone else important to you might be overly pressing upon you at the detriment or the fall of your own career ambition. And codependent energies may play out here. Okay, where you're just trying to, there's an expression, you are responsible for only 100% of your 50% of any relationship. Well, if you suddenly notice you're taking up 75 to 80% of responsibility, like you're across the fence into your partner's business or love partner's world, or you're overly accountable to clients or people you serve, step back, reclaim your power, and find your interdependent state. This moon will draw your eye to the possibility of where you give yourself away, and you are going to suffer for that because you need to nurture yourself as well as everyone around you, as most of you are learning that lesson in this lifetime. Leo, sun, moon, and rising sign. Seems to me that you have a moon in the house of sickness, the house of work, pets and tenancies and debts. This is a moon that is stoic, determined, and gritty, and tough as nails. She is Capricornian, and she's looking over at her ruler, Saturn, ruler of the Capricorn space. Saturn, fallen in Aries, is up in your ninth house. This moon will therefore bring you into an observational dynamic of something to do with your work routines, your pets and your health, maybe your debts, but all relative to ninth house matters. With Mars ruling Saturn, it could also be connected to career. So you may be going through something about trying to align with a deeper purpose or move towards more international themes and some aggression towards some exciting work opportunities. But there's some kind of slag of difficulty here, something like often the moon here in the third house is emotional discontent with the work you do, right? You're overly attached to the results, or you're working too hard. And this can be also working too hard in connection to a sibling, one older or two older, based on Mars and Saturn here. There's an energy as well of really, because you are like tough as nails in the work, but also in the health sector. So be careful that you don't like ignore anything to do with difficulties with your body here, your health, especially connected to themes that are about the bony structures, maybe the teeth and knees, for example, Saturn and Capricorn energy. So this is where literally paying more attention to nagging health problems, teeth, joints, knees, maybe, and not ignoring them, because a stoic moon will just be like, yeah, it hurts, but I got to get going. And when the going gets tough, the tough get going. I'm going to work through it. Right. Well, yeah, I mean, you could, but you could also take care of it. So there's an attention to what you need to take care of. Ultimately, this moon wants more alone time for you. The moon is like literally yearning to hang out in the 12th house, which is like, could anyone just let me hang out by myself in a solitude space, an ashram maybe? Or could I just like be alone for a while to like parse what I need and want in my own life? Like alone from the family, alone from the partner, alone from the business partners and work you do. This is almost like a good hack. I'm going to be teaching Codebreaker next year, how to hack the difficult parts of your natal chart. And of course, this applies to transits. So the hackingness is literally to give yourself permission to check out, right? Put out to lunch, not available, on your door, in your home, or wherever, in your office, even say, do not disturb. Okay, that is the best way to go through this moon. Ultimately, it's telling you how to self-nurture and not overwork. And this is showing up for you, but most acutely in the 2 weeks that follows the lunation. A pet may need to be attended to medically and may find themselves in a cat or dog hospital coming off the moon in the 2 weeks that follow. That's just life. Pets get ill. This could do that for that pet. Not that's what I want for you, but anything is possible. And that's what the story shows me mostly. Saturn is squaring the moon in the work house and owns your marriage house. There can be some complications with your marriage partner connected to your own work schedule or your own health, right? And it's disturbing some of the ethers between you and a significant other in the 2 weeks that follows the moon. All right, Virgo, sun, moon, and rising sign. Welcome to this storyline of you having this energetic moon full in your fifth house of children, fertility, pregnancy, sex, romance, entrepreneurship, creative enthusiasm, and artistic endeavors, and your natural gifts and talents. The moon is full. There's a bright spotlight there. It's stoic and tough as nails. She is Capricornian. She doesn't cry easily at movies, and she wants you to know that being sturdy and stoic is the way to go. Prevailing and persevering through creating artistic creations, doing your entrepreneurial business, falling in love, being in a sexual relationship, and or being pregnant or conceiving. Now, conception can happen anytime any kind of moon happens in the fifth house. Okay, so it's not the most obvious conception chart because of where Venus is sitting. I'm not so convinced, but Jupiter, I call the great sperminator. He is right across from this moon in the 11th house, reflecting the light of the fertility children god into the house of conception. And Venus will move out of Leo within the month after this moon, and she'll move into your sign, making you very fertile. So if you are young enough to make babies with you or your partner, just a note of caution after July the 8th. Okay, this moon is taking place on June the 29th, 30th. So that first week isn't so bad, but 2 to 3 weeks after July the 8th, fertility risk is extremely high. Particularly fertility risk July the 8th Yeah, until August the 7th, when Venus is in your sign, you are highly fertile, or your partner is, or you guys are together, right? And Venus can also bring the birth of grandchildren, Virgo. So your children are highly fertile in this chart in that window of time. The moon might be part of a signal that mothering, parenting energies are entering one of those children, grandchildren vibe places for you in the wake of this moon. Are you in a romantic relationship? If you are, then just the sort of romantic sexual affection might feel hard. Square to Saturn, there could be some real kind of downturn in the affection and the romance with somebody that you're with, but it's trying to show you something. It's not just a punishment, for goodness sakes. It wants to show you something. Look to what the messages are about. And Saturn squaring, fallen in Aries from the 8th house and exiled moon is a difficult lunation, but it might have you look more deeply at your soul work, at what you're not seeing about your life, how you're attached to your simulation character. And maybe even it's a signal for a redemptive shift around where you felt a shame and a betrayal and abandonment stories historically, and a kind of stoic look at it, like a realistic look at those stories from your past. Because ultimately, too, Venus with her hookup to Neptune and Saturn during the moon is also trying to smooth out patterns of self-undoing, things that have to do with addictions or self-sabotage, but a lot of life's big upsets too, betrayal, abandonment, shame, especially from childhood. This is a very healing lunation, and it does call you inward. The more you go in to really understand what the grit that you feel in your sandy shoe is about, the more you come out of this liberated from karmic knots or karmic sanskaras that hold you back. Ideally, you want to change your identity. You want to say, I am this thing, not that, right? Now, Saturn rules your house of your legacy wealth of your family. Saturn is the elder, and Neptune could be cognitive decline. And there's a small chance that this could bring you a signal flare of a coming inheritance within 6 months after this moon. So write that down if it makes any sense to you. Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign. The sky tells me you have a lunation. It is 4th house, home, childhood, mother, real estate, property, midnight hour, domicile, where you live, fullness, completion, or fulfillment. I wonder if you are going to look at something in the home more clearly, like with a flashlight. Look at this big home light here. It could be a completion too. All full moons might complete where you live, saying that within 6 months after this June 29th, 30th eclipse, you might change your home. And that's possibly just going to be a signal for a new home as you complete the current home. So new beginnings and endings, completions, right? That's all that could be. And then the other part of it, though, is what the moon is up to. She is squaring Saturn in the house of long-term committed love and business partners. And one reason that home change may happen is that you and a significant other are making decisions about changing your home, right? So, but you may be making the decision, your partners, you're doing it together, either one. So it could also open up the opportunity, something you've been thinking about for 6 months, of moving in together, buying a home, changing your home. However, there is some grit here, to say the very least, right? We have to own the fact that there is some determination that is intense to complete or fulfill something in the home. But with Saturn in a condition of fall from the house of a spouse or another person, or even a business partner or a buyer, things are not ideal. There can be some challenges here in long-term business and love relationships. And some of those changes and challenges may be also, as Jupiter says, connected to ways you're going to make major changes in your own career space. Sometimes when we just change our job, our career, we can just upset the whole apple cart with our partner because we have to work harder. We have to be focused more on what we're required to do in the workplace. There's also some changes maybe that you could have an opportunity to move to a far off land or distant shore to work, another company, another country, somewhere abroad. Would that be at odds with what your partner wants? Those are options. And when I say far off land too, it doesn't have to be international, the other side of your own country. Remember, an angel carrying a harp is with the moon. The revelation of spiritual meaning and purpose is at the core of this. And it's underneath the midnight hour. It's when you're sleeping at night. It's from your family of origin. It's your ancestral patterns. look into the deeper spiritual meaning and purpose at the core of your career, because this is the bottom of the chart that fertilizes the treetops of your 10th house. This is the root system of your career. And what is it you are actually wanting to do? Ignore the ascendant, descendant, midheaven here. Of course, I forgot to take it out, but just get the gist of what I am saying. You want to have career gains that are satisfying and fun and pleasurable. That's what Venus says anyway. Hey, Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising. There's a full light in your third house. The full light in your third house is completion or illumination of things to do with your siblings, your local neighborhood, short distance travel, things that connect you to your ideas that you wish to communicate. And that can be also involving you in opportunities to fulfill or complete writing projects, communications projects, marketing and selling projects, learning projects, or teaching projects. And all of those things are down in that third house, Scorpio. It is inviting anytime the moon shines here. The moon is very often connected with movement quickly through phases, and also short distance and short duration travel. So she's in her joy here, even though she's in a condition of exile, she's in her joy. So I wonder if you are looking at a moon that on the 29th and 30th is going to open up over 2 to 3 weeks that follow a short distance travel, opening, completion, opportunity available for you. That could happen. The moon is in a trine, broad trine to your marriage house, Chiron, to really trip, travel, getaway, destination, heal, soothe the marriage or long-term committed love relationship, and bring more affection and romance as the South Node. That aside, if you're not doing a short-term getaway with a loved one and the moon is poking you, the moon is squaring. The moon is squaring Saturn. Saturn owns the moon. The moon's in the domicile of Saturn, and there can be really intense, difficult pressure that feels like sand in your shoe, or a pebble in your shoe, or a thorn in your side connected to your work. There will be issues that some of you feel that you are burdening and sharing or shouldering a lot of work responsibility or intense grinding in the workplace. Saturn is in the 6th house of your livelihood, the job, the work. Trying with Venus to find some modicum of pleasure or balance, but the moon may bring to your attention something very acute. If you're in the industries where you market, sell, teach, learn, or commute, you're feeling this is getting to be a bit too much. There's something there, something's got to give. If you don't do any, even if you're on a writing project, right, and you feel like, oh my God, getting this thing done is exhausting. Even if you hire people to help you, like editors, servants, the 6th house, somehow it doesn't feel like it's working the way you planned, right? So there's just some kind of like intensity about the default to grinding and being determined, stoic, but at a cost, emotionally feeling numb or cold, or removed from your very own life, from your very own efforts that you're taking to secure a better harmony with your spouse, to move your impulse for creative and artistic expression forward, to be available for the thing that you want to do. And remember, this is a revelation of your spiritual meaning and purpose from this angel Sabian symbol on this full moon. And so you may be recalibrating, because where you notice that it's uncomfortable and unsatisfying, in the 2 to 3 weeks after this moon, you will figure out a way to change it. Jupiter guarantees that. He's the Santa Claus fairy godfather, gazing fondly at the moon from the moon's house, saying, we'll figure it out. There will be a solution. Don't worry. Lastly, I think that if you are trying to find a situation with your debts, you owe money, right? Mars owns Jupiter in the house of legal courts. Jupiter is in the moon's house, Saturn's in the house of debts, all said and done. There's kind of, you can cobble together a billiard ball game of ricochets here, where probably you could find new legal mechanisms to relieve yourself of debts, right? And or ways to turn around writing and publishing difficulties into lemons become lemonades, because you're looking for that advance or that royalty income or that derivative money. And it could come to you, but you have to work through it with a kind of realistic perspective. No one gives you 500,000 advances, and no one's going to pay you 40% of royalties in the book publishing industry. I mean, the call is to be realistic with Saturn here. Don't let a pet out to run around the neighborhood. This is not good. This can be a pet being injured because it's running the neighborhood. Okay, this is another warning signal for you. If you have an animal, June 29th to 30th, add 2 to 3 weeks to a month. Be careful. Hey, Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising. It looks to me like you've got a moon in your money house. It happens every year and it's full. It may call some of you to look closer at your savings, your wallet, your spending, your resources, and look at it like a flashlight is in there. And it may also help you curtail your spending because the moon is very contained, stoic, and serious in Capricorn, very resourceful energy. Capricorn moon people can, work really well with money because they don't get emotionally overwhelmed by the financial stories. And this is giving you that sort of more stoic and realistic energy without the emotion around money for you. But the moon also full here, fulfillment, can also say completion. And with the South Node in the 10th house, you may be getting ready to complete, relieve yourself of, and end perhaps some path that you've been considering or have been on for a long time in your career and the way in which you have earned money. And this wouldn't be just changing jobs. This would be a wholesale closure of one professional direction as you want to begin to seed something new 6 months later. And so retiring would be an example. Jupiter is in a retirement house. This 8th house often is retirement. And 55 years old, 12 years before, 12 years after, people retire from jobs, marriages, long-term situations. They pull away from them. So it just depends on how old you are. Saturn is ruling the moon, and he's in the 5th house, and he's unhappy because he's in a fall. He's in a house of joy, and he's in his fall. You may be feeling a lack of enjoyment with your social obligations and friendship circles, or you're really not enjoying your own artistic, creative, and entrepreneurial realm. Your children are having a hard time, or your romantic life is feeling like it's really hard to enjoy this romantic life. And so all of those sentiments with Saturn sort of compressing like a tongue depressor, your 5th house, I don't know where that image came to me, and constricting it. It is not easy. And might be one of your kids is going through a really hard time, adult or child. And Saturn is therefore looking at the moon in a money house. So is your lover or your children having a difficult financial circumstance arise after this moon? Are you called to support them or fix it or help them? And, Saturn not only rules this moon, but also your 3rd house of siblings and travel. So siblings travel, short distance travel, money, kids, romantic partners, complications for all of those. Now, Saturn here can give you determination. Like if you're an artist and you want to pump out, a novel and you're writing, you're going to be gritty and determined not to give up. And the moon makes you stoic and determined to keep with it in your voice vocation calling. And also in the way you're conserving or saving money if needed or holding on to it, hopefully, in order to persevere in a creative artistic endeavor or entrepreneurial direction. Yes, that could happen here. Well, Jupiter is looking at the moon from the house of inheritance. North Node is in the house of legacy. Well, news of an inheritance may be connected to the aftermath of this lunation. If so, there may be some stress or strain in the shared resources with an inheritance involving siblings, and maybe some little bit of dispute about the actual distribution of wealth between you and siblings based on this chart. All right, so there's that as well. There's so many ways this can go. Ultimately, remember, the angel carrying the harp wants you to find a spiritual meaning and purpose at the core of your life situation. This is an earnings house. It always connects to your work and to your career. That's what the ultimate calling is here. Forget about the incidentals. Child needs money. Lover spends all your money. You're grinding at a creative project and you're burning out. Who knows? The point is that you are looking for your voice calling and vocation, the same word Latin vocare. And this is a lunation that's shining a light on what your truer calling is and how you can profit from it. Take that away from this and ponder the moon. Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising sign. The full light of a lunation in your sign is always an experience of introspection and self-identity illumination. If it's your sun, you're illuminating your spiritual goals and true path in life, including career. And if it's your moon in Capricorn, your mother, your nest, your childhood, your emotions, illuminating for you Cap suns as well, father issues. And then for your Cap rising, of course, it's illuminating your character in the simulation, your avatar, the role you're here to play as your ascendant. And so this is always a light shining on you every time this happens. And of course, the light on you is always going to be Capricornian, stoic, determined, resourceful. Now, I don't cry at movies, right? Says the Cap moon. Those of you born with that Cap moon, tell me, how stoic are you? You hold the tears back. You're not a crier. No Cap moon is a crier. And most of you aren't. There'd be a real exception to the rule. Let me know in the comments. You might feel sad, but you're not going to be a public display of emotion unless you can help, stop yourself. And you're very sensitive probably underneath, but you're not going to wear your heart on your sleeve or your emotions on your tears, right, on your face. You might ruin your makeup or something. It's not practical to cry, And I'm just bringing this to all your attention because this moon is always bringing that thing back to you about where you are with emotional expression, even if you're not born a Cap moon. And whether you know what you really want at an emotional level, maybe you can wall your feelings off sometimes, Capricorns. And all Capricorns, sun, moon, and rising. And so I bring this up because the moon is reflecting a Jupiterian light across the way. So look to a teacher, a guru, a guide, look to a spouse, a long-term love partner, or committed partnership, look to business partners, or maybe the right client, somebody out there with a Jupiterian eye looking at you and the moon reflecting that right back at you. Jupiter would show you how everything about your path is good and true and wise. And there's information, right? Mercury, someone has something to show you or tell you. This moon could be very aware, illuminating energy, but through another person, the mirror of another person, the information and voice or contribution of another person to help you see yourself in a new light. But yet Saturn is squaring the moon from the fourth house. Saturn is in a condition of detriment called fall. He's working hard. He's determined and melancholic, stoic, alone and lonely, if some of you feel that way in the home, or just feeling like the outcast. I don't belong in this city or this town or this home that I live in. I'm the outsider here. Saturnian outcast energy, renunciate even. How are you finding yourself living in your home since April? No, since February, when Saturn entered this fourth house for you, February 14th or so. Because it'll be here till April 28, 2028. You got to get used to it, right? And it's once every 30 years. So Saturn moon square is stoic, emotional negation. And maybe the path will open up something new because Saturn also is the ruler of the house of what brings in your life financial reward. And it's almost like to break a code of just getting through, making do, grinding away, could make a breakthrough here, illuminating a way in which you could be more financially resourceful and successful. Saturn exalts your career and he owns your moksha. He owns your Artha, second house of earnings, ultimately said the deep dive of self-introspection of where you can be self-denying of worldly success. How can you look at that more clearly? And how is your self-denial of worldly success and all the money and accolades and success that could come your way predicated on your childhood? What did you learn from your mother, especially, and what did you learn in your childhood? It's how to break the code of self-denial of what you're entitled to in the realm of worldly success. Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. What I think for us, I'm a rising, is that when we have the full 12th house moon happening on the regular, but this is rare, also trining the south node in Virgo, we are opening massive double doors to spiritual awakening. This is like the full-on disidentify from the ego, add a slice of witness consciousness, and then gape open to unity awareness of we are one and there is no self or something like that. There's just a full-on moksha vibe for you And so the full moon shining in the 12th house could bring that. Now, we did talk about this earlier, and I wasn't going to bring it to everyone's attention, but with Memoria in the house of hospitals, as squaring basically a funeral asteroid, we may see you in a funeral setting, not necessarily on the actual moon of June 29th, 30th, but over the course of a month that follows, if not 6 months that follows even. And funerals for anybody in your life who leaves this plane of existence. Saturn represents the elder. The moon squares Saturn, so likely an elder, but Saturn is also in a house of siblings. I'm not trying to worry you. The other energy here of Saturn is that can you, gritty, stoic. Saturn is determined to keep on keeping on. And he's in the third house. Where are you keeping on with? It comes to social media in general, teaching, learning, writing, studying, and communicating, broadcasting, social media, third house. Where are you like backboning up? Not going to give up. Nothing can stop me now. I've got grit. But yeah, squaring the emotional moon, who's also burning out. Because moon in Capricorn. Yeah, right. She's actually trying to get you to listen. She owns your work house, your employee house. And if these things are driving you to distraction or you have a decrease of your health wellness, then what the moon is trying to point to is solutions, especially with Hygeia and Jupiter on the moon in your sixth house. And so retreat, alone time, solitude, self-care, ashrams, writing retreats. It's like going away from the activity of the public world and becoming reclusive will benefit you, even if it's just reclusive from social engagements with friends. I mean, just coming inward and going less outward. The moon will try to find a way for that to improve health, create more workflow, open up doors of opportunity that you won't have unless you go inward, because going inward, go within or go without is a big cliche, but your chart shows this for you. And running around with like a chicken with your head off, trying to get everything to work when you're feeling burnt out, it's not going to work. That's what this chart says. Like I'm heading up to the mountains to Whistler tomorrow for 3 days. This is before the moon, right? But there's going to be more of that in my life. I need time away from the grind. Your grind can be anything, guys. It's definitely going to end up looking like there's a shift here. Now, even if you don't work in the land of social media, the derivative chart shows Mars is in charge of your 10th house of career. And he called in as he owns Saturn. So even Mars says, like, you want to be creative, artistic, inspired, and entrepreneurial. You want to hear the muse and use your natural talents and gifts. But I'm trying to direct Saturn and he's grinding and he doesn't have any space to hear me. He's like literally like got his head nose to the grindstone and he's got his earplugs on because there's probably a loud sawing sound there. Like what do you call those things? Those steel, cutting through steel here. Can't hear a thing you say. I've got my sound protection headphones. I'm jackhammering away. And Mars is like, for God's sake, Saturn, let's have some fun. Let's get inspired. Let's enjoy what we're doing. Let's be creative. Let's add our artistic element to everything. And let's, by the way, use our talents and gifts in an easy way. And so there's something about recalibration here for all of you along the lines of what I just tried my very best to express. So Pisces, sun, moon, and rising. It is definitely for you a stoic lunation coming through in full in the house of a sibling, one older, the house of your friends and groups of belonging and the gains of your career, illuminating the path forward for how you wish to succeed professionally, but also at the same time squaring Saturn in the house of earnings. So maybe a bit of a vibe here on this lunation at 2 to 3 weeks after, where you're kind of like measuring the cost of the success. And Saturn may say it's okay to keep pushing yourself like this, but you might just need a break. And I really want you to consider that when you see this moon open up that question mark for you, about your career path, even if you're retired, then how are you always pushing for more money, success? How are you working or grinding or worrying about or constricted around your finances? And where is it taking a toll emotionally, where now you have to sort of numb it out? And it can be that you're also engaging in sort of friendship groups and belonging groups where people aren't emotionally rewarding to you. They're not giving you, especially a sibling one older, they're not giving you the love you need, the connection you need. And, Saturn is in the house of your voice. And there may be a real important conversation with that friend or sibling one older that this one wants you to speak your truth in a hard, realistic way about how you feel about that relationship and its emotional distance or coldness that you might be experiencing. But yet the moon reflects Jupiter's light as well as Hygeia in the fifth house. And some of this could bring into your awareness, especially with Mars, matters connected to your childhood, connected to your grandchildren, connected to your children being all of a sudden more of a focal point. And with Saturn, a money house connected to a moon that rules your house of children, there's a possibility that one of your children, adult children, not piggy bank children, is going to have a financial challenge. And this moon might draw you in, and you're making a decision whether or not or how you can be of assistance. If it's just even emotional support, it doesn't have to be money donated to a child. It can be a financial support or the way you have something emotionally to say to them. But hey, the moon was going to deliver something that's realistic and serious and cool and calculating. It's not like, oh, honey, no matter what's going on with your money, you say to your 20-year-old child, I'll always back you up. No, you're going to give them a chance to reflect on their own financial conundrum. You may feel pushed and pulled to save and rescue when you can't, when you don't even have the resources to rescue a child yourself. The same thing I talked about with children can be money tensions with a lover. When I say lover, it means you're not legally wed, full-time cohabitating type of relationship, like common law or legally wed. When that's not in place yet and you're still in the exploration of the relationship, I will call that the dating lovers phase. So watch for money tensions with a lover or a significant partner that you have not yet fully realized committed long-term cohabitation, all right? And there could be some really big tensions around finances together. You may not have the money they want. You may be constricted about your money. Finally, Saturn not only rules this lunation, but also is the ruler of your 12th house, which can mean that some of the money situations could take place in foreign countries or distant shores for where you currently live. And some of you may actually want to harness the 12th house here to consider a job opportunity or a new increase of your salary, but there's a cost to it, and it may involve digital income, borderless revenue, or moving abroad or to a far-off place in order to possess work that will satisfy and make your life okay, like more safe, a safety net. Saturn says, where's your financial safety net? That's what he's saying. Do you have a financial safety net when he goes through your second house? He's fallen. You may feel you don't have a financial safety net. Safety net financially can come through children, romantic partners, but with grit and not grace. But it can also say with Venus, new job, new work. But where is this like long distance, foreign place, international theme? And Mars says maybe changing your home surprisingly and suddenly connected to a work opportunity that doesn't exist in your current main place of living. And the moon will just bring you an ability to say yes without crying over I'm going to miss my local neighborhood, right? Or where I live. It's okay. You'll be fine. And we'll just buck up. All right. That's what we got for you guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss a thing. Can you believe I had to do this video today after I did the intro yesterday? Come to my Leo webinar. Check out my membership community at Patreon. I have a lot of fun there. We do 4 Zoom meetings a month, depends on your tier. And it's a small community. It's much smaller than this. There's only 600 paid members. And all the Zoom meetings have a smaller cohort. So we get to meet and talk. I love the community. I look forward to every Patreon meeting. And I also have Substack, and I also have members only content there, as well as public content where I write about world events without worrying about being demonetized. And on my members only community here, you can also check out the extended version of every weekly forecast that are now coming out on Sundays. I'm piloting Sundays that are me more freely delineating world events with more open-minded, speaking freely for the members only. I'll be adding more content to the members only, occasional live streams and more. So stay tuned for that too. All right. See you guys around. If you're in a members only position at Patreon, like early access ad free, it's kind of the same here on YouTube, but YouTube, you only get one early access ad free. Over at Patreon, you get all of my content, early access ad free. All right. Hot off the press. Take care. I'll see you guys around.